Hello, I'm Steve Roth, and beside me are Kavi Shalar and Kurt the Hurt Leston. We'd like to welcome you to another one-on-one sports webisode. Today, we're going to mix things up. Instead of deciding between players and teams, we're going to debate which sport is the best. My first question for you is this: which major sport is the most physically demanding for its athletes? Kavi, we'll start with you.
You have to go with boxing. In boxing, you are taking a physical beating every time you walk into the ring, every time you compete, and these guys are the top physical athletes. They train year-round to get into peak physical shape, and you can't say the same about any sport.
Kavi, listen, I want you to hold your breath for this one, okay? Because I'm going with free diving. Free diving. And for those who don't know what free diving is,
I don't know what that is.
I know you don't, but hear me out. Hear me out. The athlete goes into the middle of the ocean and dives down as far as they can go with one breath, and then they have to come all the way back up. Some of these athletes can go down to 700 feet below sea level. When they get there, the pressure on their eyes is so great, it would be like Chris Jenkins sitting on one eyeball and Vince Wilfork sitting on the other.
Wow.
And if that stat is not enough for you, the pressure on their chest is the same as 5 elephants sitting on your chest. That's 3,000 Steve Roths.
Wow.
That's a lot of Steve. But I don't know if that competes with boxing, though.
Why
in
not?
That strength, just the pure strength of a boxer.
Yeah, but this is physical demand on your body. There is nothing else that can compare to that type of pressure.
You only train one way, though. In boxing, you have to train cardiovascular, you have to train strength, you have to train in so many different ways. You have to train...
Okay, that's fine, but these athletes can hold their breath for over 10 minutes.
They only train that one way, though. They dive into ocean and that's it. And how many people are actually doing this
There's
sport?
There's a USA Olympic team for this.
We're getting a little heated, but I like this. Next topic here that we have is which sport demands the highest level of physical ability? In other words, which sport has the best athletes? Kurt.
Kavi, I got a question for you. What does NBA stand for?
National Basketball Association.
No, nothing but athletes. This is an organization and a league that is composed of freak athletes. Take an NBA player, put them through the NFL scouting combine. Their vertical leap, broad jump, 40-yard dash times would all be off the charts. Vince Carter can jump over another human being and dunk into a hoop 10 feet off the ground. Can I do that? No, I'm not an athlete.
You know what? I totally agree. You look at guys like LeBron James that played high school football and basketball, look at where he went. He went to the NBA because that's where they have guaranteed contracts. They don't have that in the NFL, and they're not going to get the best athletes in the NFL because of that. Randy Moss is probably the best athlete in the NFL. He's 6'4", and he can do what LeBron does at 6'8".
Yeah.
You look at a guy like Antonio Gates that failed in basketball. He didn't get drafted into the NBA. He goes undrafted into the NFL. He's a star now. That just shows the athletic ability that basketball players have over football players.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, some sports are every bit as mental as they are physical. Kurt. No, not Kurt. We're going to start with Kavi for this one. Which sport is the most mentally demanding?
Mentally, it's easily tennis. Not only do you have to beat yourself, you have to beat your mano-a-mano with your opponent. You have to beat him and yourself. You don't get coaching. There's no other sport that's that mentally demanding.
Listen, Kavi, listen. John McEnroe, good tennis player / crazy person. If someone who is that mentally insane, that much off their rocker, can be successful in a sport like tennis, I don't see how it can be that mentally demanding. I'm going to hit you with golf, okay? Look at the who had been the #1 player in the world, Tiger Woods. Phenom, great golfer. Has some off-the-course marital issues. He comes back, his game is now pedestrian. He's gone from #1 in the world to just another golfer, and that's because the mental part of the game is that much of a factor.
That's that much of a factor with any sport. You look at a guy like John Daly for golf. Tell me about that guy. He's a mess.
What about John Daly? He's not mentally insane.
Neither
he
was John
had an
McEnroe.
illness. He was an alcoholic.
That's his fault.
That's not...
John McEnroe was not some crazy guy. He was just
He wasn't?
No.
Screaming at referees? He was nuts.
That was a tactic.
John Daly had an illness. John McEnroe was off his rocker.
McEnroe did that to get the crowd on his side. That's a tactic.
All right, well, this one's also getting heated. We're going to move on now. Finally, which of the major sports is more difficult to play than it might look? Kurt.
Listen, the answer is racquetball. When I went to the gym, I'd always see old guys, 70 years old, little stupid headbands on, big goggles on, going into a little box, hitting a ball out. And I thought, oh, come on, I can do that. I'm in peak physical condition. Got to school, started playing some racquetball, and I realized it takes eye-hand coordination. It takes footwork, and it really tests your endurance. They're not messing around.
You know, I would agree with you, but I have to say that ping pong is much tougher than racquetball, just because you play on a little, it's table tennis. It looks like regular tennis. It looks like you can take big swings. No, you have to be really quick. You have to have better hand-eye coordination than racquetball because it's a smaller ball, smaller paddle, and you have to be able to handle spins, all kinds of things. You look at the top guys, they serve differently than how you just see normal players just go and miss around.
I can't see how standing in one place for that long can be that.
You don't stand in one place. The best players, they stand really far back from the table.
But
they move.
it's a lot different than moving in tennis or if you're moving in racquetball.
I like these. I'm going to have to go with racquetball. I've played it myself. Not an easy sport to play, although it might look like it. Well, that wraps it up for this one-on-one sports webcast. Thanks for checking us out, and make sure to check out all of our other great webcasts as well. For Kavish Alar and Kurt Leston, I'm Steve Roth, and we want you to know, whose side are you on?